What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Big article over there from the Washington Post, and obviously the huge reveal that it's going to be getting a free update. Now, they talk about it not being like a full-blown, I think they say full-blown downloadable content expansion thing. But it is DLC. It is a free update. It's actually going to have a pretty okay amount of stuff in it. We know Verso is back. Ben Starr is in the recording studio, and I think even he himself, in that picture that he posted of him, recording lines, said it's not a lot of lines. It's not going to be too much. And I think what you can kind of take from that, it's not going to revolutionize the story. It's not going to add, 3 hours of cutscenes. It's actually, it seems like more battle heavy, more focused on like a dungeon per se, and we'll go over the details in a second, but just a quick little recap version of it. So that's cool. And then a couple other big parts, I would say, of the article. One that's got a lot of people talking in terms of the ending, right? I didn't know the ending. Like I said, my piece, I think I did a spoiler cast on this game, had a lot of fun recording that video, and I talked about how I just thought the ending was just very up to you, and really there is no right. I remember saying that, like, it doesn't feel like either ending is good. It feels like it's kind of a lose-lose, and it's kind of depressing, but also kind of beautiful, in that way. And I guess turns out I was right. I didn't really know there was all of this, like, there's like a massive amount of hate towards people for like believing one or the other, or I think like if you choose maybe the Verso one, people hate you, or maybe it's the other one. I don't know. There's a lot of, I didn't know it was that much, honestly, hate towards, well, this ending is like morally wrong and this one's more morally right. Like I said 6 months ago or whatever, I feel like both of them are kind of wrong, or both of them are rooted in selfishness, and so we'll come back to that as well as this video goes. Just wanted to do the quick recap in the beginning. So Expedition 33 will get a free update as French studio takes a victory lap. They talk about how it's reached 5 million units. I think it's actually been 5 months and 5 million. They also say, like, I think the streaming of music was over 333 million times. So a lot of really nice numbers. I think they picked those numbers purposely, honestly. So they talk about all that, and they talk about having a hefty update to the game coming soon. So they say it's in the coming months, and it'll feature a new playable environment with new enemy encounters, challenging battles for late game players, new costumes, and support for more languages. So that's the really big update. So just pausing there really fast. Like, that's, again, it sounds more battle heavy, more like dungeon heavy, new location, new enemies, maybe late game type stuff. That was a very special thing, I think, with this game, is really the end game. The end game, it's not like Silent Hill F, right? Like, really truly evolves every time you play it. Like, you kind of have to play that game multiple times to really get the full thing. Expedition is more, really, once you beat the game, there's still quite a bit to do, if you want to push yourself and go for, I mean, not necessarily like the true ending, although maybe you want to call it that, but, really push yourself and go for some of those final boss battles. So, I mean, it sounds more in line with that, right? And like I said, with Ben Starr, it doesn't seem like they're adding, and I don't think, honestly, there might not be any in terms of like these really big, expansive cutscenes that really do anything. It seems like from the picture, maybe more of like a flashback type, like a prequel type situation versus, because I mean, if you know the endings, right? It's messy. That one is more messy. Where could you even do something there? It actually does make more sense to maybe do some like past adventures of some of these people. So one thing they do also is talk about, or not talk about, they don't want to say how much it costs to make the game. They say it's fun to see all the speculation. That said, we are on the lower end of the AA spectrum. I originally read that AAA, but no, it's actually AA, and AA is really not that expensive, and then they're on the low end even of that. And they also talked about, in terms of the engine and it actually working quite well versus some other games that we obviously know this year have not worked quite well. It basically, to them, it starts with just getting that optimization early. Like, they started to notice stuff almost a year before the game came out, and that's when they started really tinkering at it. So I guess pro tip to developers is don't wait till the last minute to optimize your game. Maybe that's the main lesson to be learned there. So okay, one final thing again in terms of the story. So they say the game's story has caused furious online debate, particularly its ending. This was intended long before the game was even called Expedition 33. He insists on leaving it up to the audience's interpretation. However, he did clarify that the audience is meant to think of and connect with the game's world and characters as real and human. If you don't, it means we failed as writers. So yes, I hope you do. Now, one thing I have seen to this, is again, the fandom is much louder than I think I really paid much attention to, I guess, in the past. I've actually seen a lot of people talking about that part was something that they would have preferred wasn't said. You know, saying the audience is meant to think of them and connect with the game's world and characters as real as humans. That's kind of like leading us on, is the argument I've seen from people. I will say, I do think it's a little, like, I get what they're saying, okay? And I believe the kind of the point of what they're saying, and at least how I have interpreted the ending, again, since the beginning, is literally that. Like, you are supposed to see the, like, because that's the moral, like, kind of gray zone, you know, what's going on in this game is, like, do you think of them as real? And if you do, that makes the ending, I think, much harder, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like, if you're imagining, like, wiping them out, like, if you don't think of them as real in the first place, I think it's a lot easier to do that, right? But if you do see them as real, then you're really wiping them all out, you know, and you can think of other words, you know, to describe that I won't say. But, and that makes it harder. And that's all I really believe, you know. I'm not here to condemn people, you know, for choosing one ending over the other. But I think, again, in terms of the comment, I think that's right. Like, I understand, and I think, again, they're simply saying, like, you're supposed to take these characters seriously. You're supposed to think of them as actual people. Therefore, it's going to make the ending, I think, rather hard and make it like a really tough choice, you know, and make it where, again, is anybody even right with that ending, you know, either of the two. And then in terms of the criticism, I guess you could say, like, I do understand where people are coming from. By saying that directly after saying that you want to leave it open and there is no right answer, by saying that directly after, you might be leading people in that direction. You might be saying, well, like, hey, wink, wink, think of them as real. So that might like change what you're going to ultimately pick, you know, at the end of the game. I don't know. Like, if you want to read into it super deep, you can. Again, I've seen people even get mad at that, and I think that that's a snapshot, you know, of the overall fandom just in general. Again, like, I don't think it's actually all that. It is complex, but it's also really not that complex in terms of, like, neither of them are really in the best spot for this decision making. You know, they're both troubled characters. They are both they're both, again, doing it truly selfishly. Like that's the whole point. So it's really just like, which selfish action do you feel like doing? And yes, there is more behind it. That is the complexity. I think that is what makes it beautiful. But also at the same time, it's like, well, it's not so complex, I think, to just say there is no necessarily right or wrong. There might be some games you can spin that, but, you know, I don't know. I think also I've experienced it kind of before with, like, Life is Strange. The ending of Life is Strange, there's been a debate for freaking 10 years. The game is turning 10 years old in a couple of weeks. For 10 years, people have debated what is the right decision. I think the answer is you're kind of just putting yourself in Max's shoes in the moment, and it's like you feel how you feel, you know? Technically, maybe both of them are wrong, right? But, like, you're doing it as Max in that moment. And in this game, you're doing the same thing. Like, as Mael, like, you're choosing something and you're affecting something, but you're also doing it from her. And maybe that adds that layer too, right? Where it's like, all right, so are you picking for yourself, for you, you know, playing the video game, or are you picking for her? Because her choice is very, you know, definitive, you know, what she wants to do. If you're choosing it how she would choose it, well, that's one thing. Does that make it right or wrong? You know, and it might be opposite of what you would pick, but it's what she would pick. So it's up to interpretation. It's up to that complexity that I really do like. But I don't know. Maybe people take it too seriously. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.